아니 가라서 베베 미망 상말로 의고 같이 미망 상마 근데 시야 상말로야 돼 해성랑 두바들라 삼디 테스트레 쉬어인 당부들라 아마저 제림 렘바시네 제림 당부데 팰리스 윈손기 된당도 냠섬 나야 돼 두바래 디네 된당 디네 제네 제소 된당 바도 콤드기 레림데 두바래 디체라 제제 베데 리굴 강기 아니 카이 몰러 라네 리굴 모데 제송체데 두스 두바래 레굴 디숨 데 두스 두바인 디체게 레굴 데 상말로 냠생 토 배제급 집이 제루 비주당 해도 아니 양행아 제 까마치린 낭주.
So we now hear the Tibetan national anthem. It's played from a stage, and after that the East Turkestan anthem.
미만나말랭게 저디 잡로데 추유 투미즈다 미만카시 로바지자 미만서 추지 장게
So now we hear the national anthem of East Turkestan, please.
Oh
Thank you very much. Now we are here today and we have the privilege to be able to protest here in freedom and enjoy this freedom here today. But it is time also today to remember those who don't have this privilege, who are not here with us today. And I would like to ask us to have a moment, a minute of silence for those, and I want to name just two of them who may stand for so many. One of them is Ilham Tohti, who is serving time in a Chinese prison for just voicing his freedom of speech, his freedom of opinion, and it is very well known to the world what an unjust fate he has to suffer from. The second is a very esteemed, a leader of Tibetans, a social activist whom we saw sadly and to much distress deceasing last year, Tenzin Delek Rinpoche, who will not be forgotten, who is in many hearts, as far as I know, as I can see it, and as I'm sure of so many Tibetans. And I can assure you that he is in the hearts of many Tibet supporters as well. And I would like to ask us to spend a minute in silence for those two individuals whom we respect so much. Thank you. We now continue with our program, and I'm happy to ask monks from the Recon Monastery up here on the stage to present a prayer of truth. Church
zo den da de cha zera ri le che be le solo che yo da de ka wa ya ta ru be ge wo na zhu zen gu de du che yo wa zhe
Thank you very much. I would now like to invite Mr. Tenzin Nyingbu, the president of the Tibetan communities in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, onto the stage for a welcome speech.
아니 둘레레chen 야고chen 냠슈 나로 나스 비고 쉬어이 파파도 믹세 가나스 베리솔라 아니 야마 참지 페만도도 지 드링님의 지란 지지데 안데르 상말로 소금당 화섬당 sem슈다 뎀베토네 냠슈다 냠루 나로 나스 쉬어이 디체게 제림데 스위스랑 레덴스타인 베리미망기 소소 딘진영불 초네 삼지 숭셰능규
아니 계속이 자주라 아니 내년에 계속 수도 제약이 아니 랭귀지 나냠수 나베기 다리 아니 리고 추고 그 케어는 뭐지 또 benjamin gentuk 된 넘버 유럽 초수 지도 구쇼완제라 산에 구잡 된주 최배 된주 레공기 레전 넘버 두고 된세들 rumbuche 초 담바 공기 참모 아니 니만 하몰라 내가 나시 아니 다른데 믹스에 군대 넘버다 스위스란 리echtenstein 베르 미망 뒤소 소셜 쪽에 투미 넘버 내가 나시 다른데 망소라 아니 예 스위스란 리echtenstein 베르 미망 잡슈데 아니 투지셰 슈와다 자 다른 미망 돈좀 첨부시라 좋으셔 데라 나주다 지단 제바이나 다들 지단 구베나라 아주 지단 구베 제니다 구주루 제제 랭귀 송도 자리 제요레 이바이나야 다다데 된줄 레고 쯔베 아니 예지 베데 랭귀 칸 제네 안 두고 제시게 다른 아주 랭귀 송 매버 제제 아니 랭귀 찍나라 아니 시자 제외 랭귀 제도바이나 아니 계산체와 두세제 한도대 다리 아니 랭귀 대니 숨 매바 제제 랭귀 찍나 되버래 되버나시 제제 망조네 공과 체셰 토네 가고 랭메 토네 다리 대냠수 가마만나셔 telangaju 슈에이 tuiche 슈에다 손자 다리인데 송신 난켄기 아니 내 민나 자제 망다지 다리인데 대대 슈에 손자 예 디니 마부시다 슈 무고 제제 아니 다른 도시 넘버 쪽이 아니 뒤쪽 당시 제제 넘버 쪽 구가 망아 표야디 계산청 통구도 손자 다른 예 디니 망고지 마 슈메 임바이나 즉 직도에 직대고 가르쳐야 차고도 쉬어야나 참매 캔세레 다들 변한 센달라롱가기 나라 간다 치수된 바이나 삼바이나 베바이나 간다 야니 삼율 대베기 아니 야숑게 최대라면도 조함이 톱당 도르기 간다 나주 돈다 돈 신바레 도나 야나숑게 미유조데 가르쳐 쉬바이나 여기 최다 릭숑다 제가 짬에 또내 벼디 아니 개유 장마시도 줘야 돼. 야나 숑게 미유 조디 마데 짬에 캥기 요르라. 데라 가긴 치긴키 치게르 소바 간데 진바이나 데야 짬에 소야 돼. 야나 숑게 랭게드 차디고 요래. 손자 야나 숑게 제고야 돼. 다봐도 제도 요래. 임바야 안주는 거네. 제가 다봐도 가서 투셨다 요 말에 다도 이나야 지난이기 범위 쌓여 주디기 미래 모래를 개요 밖에 또네 간다 야니 벽 년산 챙기 두즈 딜라 참에 지게니 냠송 또네 간제 찹시 고도니 받지다 자들 투셔 매바디 나야디 하장 개침부래라 때 단대 간주기 랭게레 게데 벽치나니 범위기 자된 돌로 두부 셰제 간제 찍찍 또네 아니 자된 투셔 매바 남바이나 벽이 제유도 뒤 남아 주투 말했어요 손자 얘들이 다리 찍찍 쉬어야 다가라 이 벽치나니 범위 용도기 자된 인장 또네 아니 자티 야산 자티 두산 제야다 레와 상산 제야데 아니 제약이 다른데 빙세 되기 때문에 벽이 슈다 쉬어야지 소장님 다른데 마부 슈메 단데 아니 군전소라야 되니마 인지기 때문에 참주 쉬어야 되는 슈고도 소장 다들 지는 고사 장고 좀 쳐. 그때 기자 때 받아 아니 벽이 된다 뉴도 세베 민도 슈다 쉬어야지 근데 단다 인지 때문에 군전소 생고 소장 찍하시지 마시는 삼소 Dear Tibetans and Tibet supporters, brothers and sisters of East Turkestan, on the behalf of Tibetan community in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, I want to say Tashi Telek to all and thank you for joining us today in this rally. Particularly thanks to Mrs. Lisa Mazzone, Swiss members of parliament, when Tubdewanchen, Tibetan members of parliament Europe, Mr. Martin Bursik, former vice prime minister and minister of the environment of Czech Republic, Mrs. Rabia Kadir, World East Turkestan Congress, Mrs. Nimalamo, niece and eyewitness of late Tugutinsi Dela Rumbuche, who died in Chinese prison on 12th July 2015. Chairman of International Campaign for Tibet, Mr. Kai Müller, Mr. Jose Armin Müller, Swiss Tibetan Friendship Association, Mr. Johannes Ulke, representative of Mr. Thomas Mann, members of Europe Parliament and President of Tibet Interest Group. And also I want to thank to International Campaign for Tibet and Tibet Office of Geneva to make this event possible. Today we are here in Geneva in front of United Nations to express our deep concern about the human rights situation in Tibet. And most of all, the ongoing demolition of Larungar in eastern Tibet. Larungar, which is the largest Buddhist academy on this planet, is today facing demolition on the hands of Chinese officials. China routinely claims that there is religious freedom in Tibet, but it clearly exposes in reality the restriction and prohibition in religious freedom. This demolition is an attempt to control Tibetan culture and religious life, and is an act of the trampling on the basic religious freedom and democratic rights of people in Tibet. And today on this occasion, my message to Chinese government is that we are not seeking separatism but the middle way solution. We are not urging the human side and religious freedom for any particular province or any particular monastery in Tibet, but we are fighting for basic human rights and religious freedom in whole Tibet. So, if China needs the respect on this earth, if China wants to be a leading country in this world, don't behave like an impotent country which is only based on the facts. Also, we are urging and knocking the door of United Nations to stand up and speak up for justice, truth, and human rights. United Nations, now it's time to act. We will not rest until the truth prevails. I am concluding here with my words, because luckily we have numerous of important speakers today in this rally. I want to thank you all again, and God bless you all. Long live His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Bejalo, 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 Tuchera.
Thank you very much, Tenzin Ningbo, for this very important speech, and I think I cannot agree more to what he said. Now to our next speaker here today, and I would like to introduce him a little bit to you, and while I believe most of you know him already, he cannot be here today, but we have got a very valuable representation of him, of his office here, Mr. Johannes Ulke. I'm speaking of Thomas Mann. Thomas Mann is MEP member of the European Parliament, and he is president of the Tibet interest group in the European Parliament, and he has been a long and very firm supporter of the Tibet issue. And if I may borrow a word of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the one who speaks for Tibet is not speaking just about justice in Tibet, he's speaking about justice in this world entirely. And so I would just like to say and take this opportunity to say, Mr. Mann is not only speaking for Tibet, but he's speaking for justice. And my personal opinion, I believe this is what we need: politicians who stick to values, who stick to universal principles and stand up for it. And that's why I'm happy that we have here today his representation, his representative, Mr. Johannes Ulke, who has taken the time to come here despite a very, very tight schedule in Strasbourg and Brussels to say a few words to us. Thank you.
아니 디체라 나란조 유럽 저소기 베데 소베 소소 아니 토마스 만초기 구삽 아니 정부 요하네스 율게 촌에 숭셰 발업 나온주.
Dear Tibetans, dear Uyghurs, dear friend of Tibet and the Uyghurs in Switzerland and in other countries. Unfortunately, Mr. Thomas Mann is not able to attend this meeting in person due to obligation in his constituency in Germany. But as his assistant for international affairs and human rights issues, I will now read out his words for this event. Today we come together here in Geneva to raise our voice for the Tibetans during the 33rd session of the Human Rights Council. I'm happy to recognize how many people are here to contribute to this event and to raise their voice for the Tibetans around the world. It is a great opportunity to send a strong signal towards the Chinese government. Last week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama opened the 7th International Conference of Tibet Support Groups in Brussels with 250 participants from more than 50 different countries. As part of his tour through Europe, he also spoke in the Foreign Affairs Committee in the European Parliament in Strasbourg just yesterday. His voice has a heavy influence on the Tibetan people as well as the work of the Tibetan support groups. People around the world, including the European Union, are inspired by the Dalai Lama. He raises awareness for the Tibetan case. He has a unique aura and charisma and tremendous influence. Although he stepped back from all political duties years ago, the institutional development of the Tibetan Parliament and the engagement of representatives of Tibetans around the world will fill him with pride. In particular, the elections of the Sikyong and the Parliament in exile in March this year show the commitment of the Tibetans to their homeland. As president of the Tibet Interest Group, I was a member of an international election observing mission to Dharamsala. Okay, it's better? Okay. Together with parliamentarians from the US, Canada, Australia, France and the United Kingdom, as well as the ICT chair, Matteo Mikachi, I spent 1 week in the political capital of the Tibetans. I was very happy to be at the heart of the Tibetan democracy during these important days, and I saw that their engagement of the Tibetan people in establishing their own self-elected government has increased. I want to express my gratitude to everyone who took part in this political process and who made it possible that Tibetans all over the world have the opportunity to vote for their representatives. The overall impression was that the Tibetans hold their elections democratically, professionally, and with great passion. We also visited schools, contacted local NGOs, and talked to the youth, women organizations, and human rights activists. A personal highlight was, of course, the private audience of our team with His Holiness. The Tibet Interest Group in the European Parliament raises awareness for Tibetan people, and for our regular monthly meetings we invite high-ranking experts from all over the world. Former Tibetan prisoners, monks, nuns, scientists and journalists. They all inform about the political situation, the deficit of human rights, and unacceptable living conditions. In October 2014, we welcomed also Lobsang Sangay for the 101st Tibet Intergroup meeting. As we can see today, Tibet has support from the Europeans. It has to be public. It must be visible. Silent solidarity is not helpful. Some governments are afraid to injure their export benefits and businesses with China. But selling human rights for economics is not part of our European set of values. Tibetans living in their home country and all over the world should notice our efforts in Brussels. Even against resistance, we do not leave Tibet alone. Your culture, language, religion, and identity have to prevail. The TIG appealed to the European Commission, the European Council, and the Presidency of the European Parliament to emphasize the importance of the Tibetan issue during the talks with Chinese authorities. We received positive reactions by the High Representative Federica Mogherini, assuring that the heads of the European institutions frequently mention Tibet towards the Chinese. Again in this year, the Chinese authorities closed the Tibetan Autonomous Region for international visitors from February to the end of March. Having the wave of protests in March 2008 in mind, they want to control the information flow in any case. We condemn this annual process of locking down Tibet and urge the Chinese authorities to end this policy. Furthermore, we want to create awareness for the recently issued law on counterterrorism and demand its repeal. Despite the absence of any recent violent insurgency in Tibet, this new law follows an aggressive drive with a strongly political dimension. Linking religion and belief to so-called terrorism gives an even larger scope of the penalization of almost any peaceful expression of Tibetan identity, acts of non-violent dissent, or criticism of ethnic or religious policies. This opens rooms for excessive interpretation and therefore further violations of human rights. The Tibet Interest Group of the European Parliament, with members from many European member states, emphasizes that we support all Tibetans who are chased, suppressed, and suffering in their home country. We continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with our Tibetan friends. We are visible, we are loud, we're peaceful, and we request the human rights for the Tibetans. Thank you very much. I have one additional remark. Just yesterday, that's concerning the Uyghurs. We successfully demanded the nomination of Ilham Tohti for the Sakharov Prize in the European Parliament. So he will be nominated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ulke, and thank you, Mr. Thomas Mann, for his continuous support for Tibetan human rights. I would like to call to the microphone now a very special person whom a lot of you probably already know. Despite I just want to have some words about his biography. Golokjik Gyatso is a Buddhist monk who has fled Tibet, or had to leave and flee Tibet because he had produced a film together with Tibetan Dondo Guangxin about Tibetan opinions and Tibetan feelings about the Chinese government, about Chinese policies in Tibet. And Dondo Guangxin got a fairly heavy prison sentence for that. Golokjik managed to escape. He's now here in the West, living in Switzerland, and he is maybe one of the most impressive eyewitnesses of the situation in Tibet, and I would like to ask him to speak now to us for a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Kusha Ulke Chola Tuche Shivadan Chapsi and the Chela Manos Pegi Chapsi Sunsur and Kusha Guru Jimelane Sunshe Namju.
티 땅에 맞추 냠들 잠속라 달라지 갖고는 되대 조조대 냠들 잠속 문이 네 지금 내가 돈능식 진보 제거대 배가 진보를 상고 말한 거네나 너소 냠들 잠속 로미 더 용첩 사적 같다네 야나가 참걸 제가 요래 때는 더부 거랑 냠들 잠속 답 banki mo khorang mune na del tonna sik chempo je goya de marang terang mune na nyamre jam sok lande ne ko da travel ten ni chani na nyamre jam sok ko yongcho tonsan samje thamba yongcho sabjo tonsan samje thambi nang na satun kang kang sik la jami ga chamkar je ndo so jami chamkar je ndo jami chamkar je sa de yongcho sabjo ro mi thotang ga chuda ramu ko ra masu tera kacha ja ko re tomar chuda rawa rodu rawa marju rawa romi kene shabar da masu romi yongchak ko jitsi ko thotang ji orwa masu to lonshe to mes ukor mamang da popa tesu karisi ne ta romi lonshe shopi kepen da masu pitsai shet to ko masu romi तेरा न्याम्बेल जांसो को बोला यों तो सोते न्याम्बेल जांसो ला दालन चाहिए तेरे न्याम्बेल जांसो को सावी जार को ना खोंगे दी जाने इच्छिगरे जाना दे खोरं के छमसां दी ना के पगस होए ना पगस चिक छमसां दी जग माते ना छमसां को पाला दी गनखर को वा पति गनखर को वा तेना बंखे मो गनखर को रे ऐसे सो न्याम्बेल जांसो खोरं मुनि गनखर को रे 그치 제나 다탕 마수 무이르 네 파이어 골로시티 사차나 라마롱 잠볼랑 같은 출대 쳔보리 네 파이어트 나 계사디 사차디레 때나 때랑 냠식 강 망망잖아요 상마라 네 라마롱 그 가총 마이 파이어 세타 망망 그 찹지네 나바 상마 때랑 내가 페파가 되지 체져요 그래서 세사 때랑 디나라 라마롱 그 파이어 식바자 나마 똑시가 요만 안 되나 야 시랑 마수 제디 야치 마몽 그티 그서다 소고 소소 나서 연거 그래 머셔나 롭덕다 소나 녀덕 나서 제거 그래 제거 그래다 때랑 영지 미 샤땅다 미 로땅 잠선 계속나 땅나 사차티 마임 바당 나랑 그 파이어 비차네 영 나바솔라 디지 체지 삼니엔 तेरे so de chuterang wang ka tang des chuterang wang la ka je to lak je du matsu nyamber jansok ni ta da kong de cha pe yongcho sa cha ka ton san cha tham bi nang ni ka re sa tam be chi ja go re nyamber jansok ko muni tang de cha na terang to wa ka ma ko ka da ma shi kum do sa rang de che san ro ma re da matsu mu sa ka shi wa shi sha ka zam la mama la rang wa tang 호탕 가리지 고한테 맞추 고세가 요래 맞추잖아 무슨 나서 시워서 고세가 요 말이 냠들 잘서 고랑 그 돈상 그 달라 파위셔 언니 돈상 삼시 담바 용처 사업적 로니 용처 사업적 돈상 삼시 담비 나나 요나서 맞춰 토탕때 맞춰 잡으면도 잠미 뜻이면 당근도 생각서 시작해 요래 너 때는 냠들 잘서 고라 용네 맞춰 깜보자 고한테 냠들 잠속 니퍼든 간 칼고래 냠들 잠속 잠부 랑거탄가 못에서라 니쭈 땅노다 못에서라 탑초 땅나 못에서 로미 토탕라 지마 도그르 챤데서 따스토 챤다 테라 타니라 샤리 마토제마 무슨 라그머 그 쇼즈라 캡처 제야라 사와 랑니 지가 말해 어때나 냠들 잠속 그소 니퍼드 테랑 마른 거 까찬디 달란 짜사데 냠들 잠속에 जानवर मारू जोयन और ते तो न्यामदर जानसो को मुतने द बांके मो सोची दाली जानवर ला तो जो तो निपर तो वर्क सेता लामारो मई फायर ला तंग ओजे 지금 시작해요 니바테네 우kur mama ka chuta origin thangma sime dorar chene rogore masal thagzur chene rogore tela nyandar janso mashi ko ta makom dog chene rogore ukor mamata popa mamata zambu langkatani mare sene nyamder jansok banke mugo thakcha thokore mare se ne nyamder jansok banke mugo sam ke zongdane ne ta chawata tai tera ngakson jekten roa mi sanyet samda mata banke mugo thak chokre mare banke mu thak choye na ngakson roa mi sanyet samkare ta mare ta tere roa mi sanyet samay na ngakson roa mi thothang ta gore ta roa mi thothang ta ngaso la gore ukara gore ngal popala gore sobola gore kamala nakchotang kamala nyanon kamala sannon na nyamder janso ko tela nipar ta dalan ta gore nipar ta tela kacha she gore kamala panjor tang kamala nenda yona tela japtir china te nyamder janso ko roa mi thothang ja mang te mara phijang na dukoyo re moni chenna roa mi thothang nyamder janso ko roa mi thothang ka da chi 대선 로미 토탕 간장 망보지 라야 요 말에 로미 토탕가 제스팅 로미 토탕 뭐지 기완이 셔이 받던 로미 그게 농수 셔 타가지 요와 또 라스트 걸지 거디 소소가 침보래 근데 매 파이를 남아놓은 거단 이동 담에로네 또 식식 당하래 소단 남아놓은 거네 파이를 남아놓은다고 있나 야치 로르 야치 나 삼특제래 로르기 때니 시라라고 말다 자 산년 배 하나 상화 침보요 그래 때니 그 디가스래 어때니 딱 따로 토식제래 토식제니 종목성 그 채속 노당 제어래 때나 차석 다지가 차석 개래와 망보지 그 용당 다지가를 게르 개편 토 뜨네 그러나 그 개그 개편 라지 삼네 따지 지금 마른 도다 마콘도 다치 가서 원는 거 간전 대수를 제가 따뜻 맞잖아요 거리 야미 같이서 맞춰 조파 공나 야미 맞춰 싸와랑니 조파 공부 말에 대랑 맞춰 고그나 산행 맞춰 고라 잡았던 거래 야미 들리지래 야미 30째 치가 오늘 야미 맞춰 가디 자즈 임바디 무슨 기고리 맞춰 가디나 야미라 달은 쳤다디 같이 고래 어때니 지금 땅에 맞춰 아실이 같이 mamma que samda songo songsup chine teran nyamder jansoko gola yongya te pemase pe yogo chongdu tene so teran maimbi sholoba shiras nanga soyena nga zeri samla murg zeyate nga su nipurta kadina changogdu murere gane nga zeyate pet machal gogdu nga sungoni pe murg zeyate pet tet zangogdu nga su murg zeyate pet nga gishen jogogdu 캐런서 대체 캐런데 경상라 대체 가져서거나 내가 본작거나 대체 대체 고고요 캐런데 경상자 대체 그 나도 본작거 그 대체 딱정 잡고요 말 내가 화하면 마스 그 채소 루땅 찌네 탑서 제어리 때는 론 다도 저들이 런이 메서 같이 다 마우스 샤크메 어떤지 그 땅에 때는 나지야 그 찹텔라 머리 땅 개급 저와 땅에 태몽 땅에 이 남아 쳐라 먹거지 시야엔 때는 니를 차네 때가 와서란디 파리 나타나 포설 카르찬데 아라찬가 사람 몸보고는 여야 때 때는 섭절 땅에 로나 섭티 쪽에 따다로 땅송 강지 저와게브리 남바 충무테네나 타노즈다로 네 조보엔 그 만나 땅강에 로나 야미 마르코 초바다 차자 사트 척스 데 사트 척들 마루 전인 그 소바포 때레 때랑 랑 다다 랑 호터 땅송 어떤지 지금 때다 때랑 강 망망스 냠직 진데 다양 나바서 금전 나바서가 송세나 거의 차네 땅이 몽보지 말지 나바 참마라 특지 체제가요
I want to greet all the Uyghur brothers and sisters and Tibetan brothers and sisters. Today I came here to send a message to Ban Ki-moon and to the UN because what is going on in Tibet is illegal. There's no religious freedom, no freedom of movement, no freedom of thought. As human beings from birth to death, we do have rights that no one can take away. But Uyghurs and Tibetans see their own rights violated day by day. So today my message to the UN is, if we are human beings, then we are part of this human family and we deserve having our rights and freedoms. The UN is like a family, and Ban Ki-moon is the father of this family. So if China wants to be a member of this UN family, then Ban Ki-moon needs to be strict with China as a child of this family and tell the child that it is violating the rules of this family. So today we gathered to demonstrate against the recent developments and the repressive policies in Golosepta, Larungar, which is a religious institution. I myself was born in Golosepta, and as someone who was born there and lived there, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to all of you on behalf of the people of Golosepta. The UN Declaration of Human Rights is made of 30 articles, and these articles include all the rights that every human being should enjoy. So today I am not asking for something special or for any additional rights, but I'm just asking the UN leaders to respect their own declaration, to respect their own laws. So today the main question that I am asking to Ban Ki-moon is, aren't we human beings? Aren't Uyghurs human beings? Aren't Tibetans human beings? And if we are human beings, shouldn't you be responsible to protect our rights? But instead you stand on the side of the one who has money, on the side of the one who has weapons, and on the side of the oppressor, the terrorist state of China. If this is the case, if you stand by the oppressor instead of the oppressed, then what is the use of having the United Nations? The United Nations was founded to help respect the rights of the oppressed peoples and not to support murderous states like the Chinese state or terrorist states like the Chinese state. So, talking about Larungar, the repressive Chinese policy started in the beginning of the 2000s. Since the last repressive regulations, 3 nuns have sacrificed their lives to protest against this. The thing we have to know is that we cannot be patient with the Chinese government. We cannot be kind with the Chinese government because the Chinese government considers kindness as a weakness. So we should never, as Uyghurs and Tibetans, forget who is our enemy. The Chinese state is our enemy. And my appeal to all of you today is to say less I, and to reduce your ego, and instead put your nation as your first responsibility. Put the happiness of the nation before your own happiness. If you want to be happy as a human being, you can only imagine that all the people of your nation want to be happy and free. If your family needs happiness, then the whole nation needs happiness. We should never forget that. So today my appeal to all of you is, instead of saying I, think about your nation, think about us as a collective, as a society and as a nation. Today I want to express my solidarity with someone whom I've known for many years. He is on this banner in the middle, the one with the mustache and the glasses. He's a very famous Tibetan writer, and today, after 5 years imprisonment, he was released. His name is Jubayab, and he's a very dear friend of mine. Please do pay attention to his case and what is going to happen after his imprisonment. Thank you for inviting me, and freedom for the Uyghurs and the Tibetans.
Thank you, Golok Jigme, and thank you for the translation as well. I'm now going to read statements from three statements from groups and important individuals who cannot be here but nevertheless wanted me to share their statements, their brief statements with you, and I would like to share that with you. First and foremost, the Tibet Justice Center, a NGO that works here very prominently also at the United Nations to promote the rights of the Tibetans, wished me to convey that the Tibet Justice Center stands in solidarity with Tibetans in Tibet, as well as with Uyghurs and Mongolians living under Chinese rule, and supports their demands for rights, including their right to freedom of religion and to self-determination. Tibet Justice Center firmly believes that all peoples have the right to have their human rights respected. Towards this end, it is crucial that human rights defenders from all these communities are protected and supported by the Chinese state and by the international community. With stronger joined-up action by the world's governments, we believe that China can be moved to protect its own citizens. We call on all here to work towards this goal of peace, justice, and the realization of human rights for all Tibetans, Mongolians, and Uyghurs. Secondly, I would like to read a resolution from the Conference of Tibet Support Groups, which had just concluded last week in Brussels, and more than 250 representatives from more than 50 countries from civil society have resolved to state the following. The Chinese government policies in Tibet violate basic principles of human rights, endemic patriotic education in Tibetan monasteries and nunneries, electronic surveillance and police stationed in monasteries, absurd reincarnation regulations, restrictions on movements of monks and nuns, torture and imprisonment of Tibetan Buddhists who disagree with policies of the Chinese government. In fact, Beijing's policies represent the antithesis to religious freedom. In particular, we are appalled by the lack of investigations into the death of prominent Tibetan Buddhist leader Tenzin Delek Rinpoche, more than 1 year after he died in a Chinese prison. As the Chinese authorities have brushed away reports about torture and ill treatment, we will continue to raise his fate with governments, parliaments, and the international community, and the Chinese government. We are also gravely concerned about the apparent violation of the right of Tibetan Buddhist practitioners to worship freely, to observe their religion freely, and to practice and teach freely at the Tibetan Buddhist Institute, Larunga, in Serta, Tibet. The measures taken by the Chinese institutions, among them the demolition of homes, are part of a set of policy measures implemented by the Chinese government that severely restrict the religious freedom of Tibetan Buddhists. We consider the measures taken with regard to Larunga as being a regressive and dangerous approach aimed at managing and controlling Tibetan Buddhism that sends a chilling signal to the outside world about the pressures faced by people seeking to peacefully practice their religion in the PRC. We are utterly saddened by reports of the suicide of 3 nuns, Tsering Dolma, Semga, and Rinzin Dolma, as an apparent result of their distress. We, more than 250 representatives of civil society organizations from more than 50 countries, urgently call for an end to the systematic violations of religious freedom of Tibetans and all Buddhists in the PRC. The Chinese government must stop persecution and control of Tibetan Buddhism and respect international human rights standards in Tibet and beyond. The international community, governments, parliaments, and civil society must act to seek to prevent the Chinese government from destroying a unique culture and religion. Now last and not least, I would like to read a statement by the chairman of the International Campaign for Tibet, Richard Gere, who cannot be here today, but who wished me to convey the following with regard to the developments at the Buddhist Institute at Larungar, which we've heard of already today. Richard Gere says, "The rubble at Larungar is more than just debris from a demolition site. Houses and streets can be rebuilt. Larungar is so much more. I wish that the Chinese authorities could understand what this place means. A place that is so valuable not only for those praying, studying and living there, for Tibetan Buddhists, for Chinese pilgrims who come there to pray, to meditate and to practice their religion. I wish that the Chinese authorities could understand that this place offers an answer to what so many Chinese are searching and in fact are yearning for: compassion and spirituality, human values." One of the prominent Tibetan lamas at the institute said that Larungar's importance was not under any doubt, as it is a monastery for the world, which has been beneficial to so many. We must protect this important monastery for the world, not just for Tibetan Buddhists, but for entire mankind. We need places like Larungar now more than ever. It is not too late to save them. Thank you very much. With these words from Richard Gere, I would like now to give a stage to one very special person who we are very privileged to have here today. It's Miss Geneva Lamo, the niece of the late Tenzin Delek Rinpoche, who has come here to Switzerland to share with us her thoughts, her emotions, maybe her impressions, her thoughts about the situation in Tibet and about what she has experienced there. Nima Lamo, please.
Chandrela na jana sungui zana kai na gwache da sago batka la mat tsani da rawaje lag tari na ngat tsani da rawaje je chi di tola he je ga Chandrela na roma chen de ga tsada da mande ga tsada re roma che mande ko jana jung ga chi chi ga ge wa roma che na ni khayu da ma ni khayu zubi chi da roma che na chi ga men ko zga ta na zo re de ge roma che da ga nyu lo jo sa la da zo ko zo de cha la che jo jo ke na ka je la che la mi hi me che da nya re 되게 따래 디게는 무슨 뭐보다 롬바치 거긴 저와 얘네들이 저가 시도 뭐보치 떠오르스다 코트글라지 저가 오차 매버서 시도도 저와 저가 지가 매버서 우리 따리나 디제치 디들들 치크지라 딩가 대치 그 가슈 디게 천들이는 롬바치 만데고 이만 이지라디 Jama trong ke to la ni tu chiang ga da ba ga sa ba ni la ko ta dari tu sa chei la amma da ane ma tu sa chen da chin tu la ha ma che sa ma dari ka so ni ka ni ma ni ji la ni tu chiang la da chu ni ba da ba ga sa ba chu ni la ko ta da li ro ba shi mong ga la de sa za ni la amma ka ba le je ni to ko la ba la ma shi du mo ba chi ta nga chi de我这个走过过个人，我这我去谁个的了？我这我都没这个钱了，阿妈的安尼你个叫了，我都快就黑了，但是，你也那看上个，但是你都你的事情老什么？俺们都旧的事情老什么？俺们还在旧边上，我这个那个现在这个拿来讲是我这个，我这说不起谁是哪里了。我是如果去看这个面孔电影，刚才都吃有了，我是这样去到就打了回来， kudu ngi kudu masa ro kadu lag kudu sa la la man ti jingo che da sar se je ka da ir ta la ro lag tari masala rewa ye ta ta il rewa chi ga yo ma se ni ma so ni da sa il ko so ho ge che da ba gin je ne je ma je na ma je nga chi je sa ro de ro ba chi se ga sai ta chen da re la na da se tru ye je ga tari da se tru ta chen da ro ba che ba de ko ta ho la ta tu sa ma chi na ka ma che da tari tu chi so ni tu chi la chi ga tu yu man da se chi te da se ni ko ta mi ko te la mi ko te no ko ta mi je te ho la mi je te ho ma da se sa ko ta go chi ta ga ni re re ke che ta ni ba ke ka de re re che ta sa ba ke ka de re re che ta ye ba ke de la ko chi ga mu so da se ye ba de ro ba che ko ta si je te la ha ba che ga la de ha ba che ga ha yo ma da se ga ba ta che re la da se che ro ku du ma se ke te de la yo ma
My name is Nimalamo, and I was born in Kamletang. I'm 26 years old, and I'm niece of late Chuku Tenzin Delek Rinpoche. I feel extremely happy to be in front of all of you, and I'm extremely grateful to you for giving me this opportunity to speak about my uncle. The late Chuku Tenzin Delek Rinpoche, who was falsely accused and unlawfully detained by Chinese authorities, leading to his death while serving his sentence on 12th July 2015 in Cheongdong prison in Dazu County in Chengdu. From the first press conference that I have had after reaching India, followed by many interviews, I have always talked about 2 points and one hope regarding my uncle Tulku Tenzin Delek Rinpoche's case. Today also, I would like to talk about the 2 points and my one hope. In addition to it, I would also like to take this opportunity and thank everyone who worked hard for my uncle's case. My 2 points are regarding circumstances surrounding before and after my uncle's death. First, I would like to speak about situation before my uncle's death. My uncle Tulku Tenzin Delek Rinpoche has never done anything against the law of the nation. However, he was falsely accused by the Chinese authorities. He was imprisoned for 13 years and the authorities denied every appeal made by Rinpoche and his supporter for his release. On 2nd July 2015, 10 days before Rinpoche's death, we were informed that we could meet Rinpoche. Hence, my mother and my aunt left immediately to Chengdu. However, after reaching there, the prison authorities kept postponing this visit for 10 days. At around 10 p.m. on July 12th, they were informed of Rinpoche's death. I received a call from my mother saying that Rinpoche passed away. Immediately thereafter, with a lot of difficulties, I left for Chengdu. As soon as I reached Chengdu, my mother and my aunt, I and some other people protested against the authorities for not allowing us to see and claim Rinpoche's body. We shouted, "You killed Rinpoche. If you didn't kill him, give us the medical certificate." My mother hit her head against the wall and shouted for evidence to prove Rinpoche's death. I attempted suicide by tying scarf around my neck. Alarmed by our protest, the prison authorities let us into the prison office. Subsequently, they asked us to tell them our concern. So we wrote our concern. First, we requested them to preserve Rinpoche's body for 15 days in accordance with the Chinese law. Second, if Rinpoche died of natural cause, as claimed by the authorities, we want the medical certificate. Third, we want a clear information on who ordered Rinpoche's body to be burned and not returned to our family. Finally, we will not carry any further appeals or petition against the authorities regarding Rinpoche's case if Rinpoche's body is handed to our family. However, none of our concerns were heard. Moreover, they informed us that they will burn Rinpoche's body at 7 a.m. the next day against our wishes. Later, they let us in briefly to see Rinpoche's body. After seeing Rinpoche's body, I have 6 reasons to believe that my uncle was poisoned to death in prison. First, the prison authorities did not allow my mother to meet Rinpoche and kept postponing for 10 days. Second, they have not provided any medical documents or death certificate to corroborate the claim that Rinpoche died of natural causes. Third, the government officials denied our request that Rinpoche's body be preserved for 15 days in accordance with the Chinese law. Fourth, the time of death cited by the authorities kept changing, with one version stating that it occurred at 2 p.m. and other at 4 p.m. Fifth, in violation of Chinese law, neither Rinpoche's body nor his ashes were given to my family. Finally, when they let us briefly to see Rinpoche's body, I noticed that Rinpoche's lips were black, and even the monks who had cleaned Rinpoche's body said his finger and toenails were black. My second opinion is regarding circumstances post Rinpoche's death and situation in Lithang now. After Rinpoche's death, the Chinese authorities continue to dishonor Rinpoche in following manners. First, the Chinese authorities distributed pamphlets and aired false and distorted information on television, such as Tulku Tenzin Delek Rinpoche is a fake Lama, a criminal and that he was a threat to the so-called social stability. Second, family and local Tibetans were not allowed to offer traditional god lamb and organize public prayer in memory of Rinpoche. Third, the building of memorial stupa for Rinpoche was not allowed by local authorities. Fourth, I have also heard that authorities in Nyakchuka, Chinese Yajian, are attempted to manipulate the reincarnation of Tenzin Delek Rinpoche as the Chinese authorities did in the case of 11th Panchen Lama. Fifth, picture of Rinpoche were banned in Lithang. Finally, Rinpoche's belongings, including his money, were confiscated and were told they will be burned. These are the 2 points I wanted to share in front of you today. I feel very lucky and happy to be speaking in front of all of you today. An opportunity like this to speak freely is a long-cherished aspiration of every Tibetan inside Tibet. In Tibet, there are many political prisoners suffering the same fate as my uncle Tenzin Delek Rinpoche. So I sincerely hope that their voices be heard and justice be done to them, and I believe it is important for the world to know about the injustices suffered by Tibetans in Tibet. I fled Tibet leaving my family, including my 6-year-old daughter. I know my speaking here might jeopardize my family's security in Tibet. Despite that, I am taking all the risks and speaking in front of you today with a sincere hope and appeal to international community to put pressure on the Chinese government to carry out a thorough investigation into the circumstances leading to death of my uncle Tenzin Delek Rinpoche. More importantly, my mother and my aunt were told by Rinpoche during their last meeting in prison. He requested them to appeal for him whenever possible and not get embarrassed if in case they had to beg for financial assistance. Last but not least, on behalf of Rinpoche's family and his supporters, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who worked day and night for making the world aware of my uncle's case, and I hope you will continue to do so in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dava, for translating. And thank you indeed, Nima Lamo, for making the effort to tell this story. And I cannot express how much respect I feel for her, for you, and the effort you make to tell this story, because it is important. And I'm really honored and privileged to be here and also to listen to you. Thank you. And I wanted to just add, as being a Tibet supporter myself, it is absolutely clear, and I think it's safe for me to speak on behalf of so many Tibet supporters, that Tenzin Delek Rinpoche's fate will not be forgotten. We will continue to raise it. We will continue to ask questions. He is not forgotten. Now I would like to give the stage to one very special person as well, a leader, an activist, a voice for the Uyghurs, for East Turkestan, and that is Rabia Kadir, and we're very happy to have her here today to speak to us and to speak about the situation of the Uyghurs in East Turkestan, about the recent developments and about the situation there under Chinese rule. Please, Rabia Kadir, I would like to ask you on the stage, on the mic.
Bishop Muller-Chone, Tanji Sungti, Mendawaka Sum, and those Trojana were in Taban Tuche Shuata, and the name around the Kanji Jong La Yong started. And since to go into the little bushy choke, some in Malamlani, and a Konangi, Yongso Muyu, Nisu Kanda Kanchua, the Samalo de la Tukambeton, Songwata, 10 to any time, Indian and Jurnawa, Samalo, Tuchena, Sue.